afternoon, folks. This is SollyJo from WoodUbend. This is just an introduction to WoodUbend and a very small basic tutorial on the WoodUbend mouldings. WoodUbend was founded and launched 14 months ago by myself. In those 14 months we have over 200 outlets globally, which include distributors and stockists. There is a link up there, down there, where you can find your closest stockist to go and buy some or just have a browse. The WoodUbend mouldings, for those of you who do not know what they are heat bendable decorative wood mouldings. We are looking for distributors and stockists globally. We offer a strong social media support. As you can see, I'm doing lives, a lot of them. Online tutorials for our lovely stockists. On our website we have a mini page for each and every stockist that we take on board. We have exclusive geographical territories for some stockists, and we have an expanding product range. Currently we have 3,250 designs, of which 450 have been released on the market to date. And we do bend over backwards for our stockists, so whatever they need, they just ring us. So let's get down to the product itself. As I said, we've released 450 products to date, and we are releasing a couple more in a month or so. So these are the WoodUbend mouldings. They come in all different shapes and sizes and thicknesses. So the first thing I want to show you is how you can drill them. You treat these just as you would treat them in wood, and in their solid state they look and feel like wood. Okay, so I'm just going to take a drill and start making some more holes. This looks like a piece of cheese actually. I'll just do one on the other side. So that's how you drill them, and I'm just going to go right through it. So that could be hung up on a wall, or you could put a screw in there and tie it to the wall or any other surface. So you can see you get real sawdust there. These are not made of sawdust, these are made out of wood fibres, 95% wood fibres, and some other ingredients, and it is then put in stainless steel moulds which receive great pressure, and that's where the secret happens to make them bendy, which we'll talk about in a little while. You can also sand them as well. So this one is broken off. I just want to smooth that surface off. So just like you would sand wood, you can sand these. And obviously you can also distress them as well. So when you've painted them or waxed them or whatever, you can distress and you'll get the wood peeping through. So that's how we drill and sand the WoodUbend mouldings. The next on the list is how to paint them. So I'll show you a little bit of painting here. Now, these little babies are very, very absorbent. So they do take to paint very, very well. See, look at that coverage there. I am using a fabulous paint here though. So just like you'd paint any other wood surface, you can paint these. So with just one coat of paint there, you can see what kind of coverage we're getting. And I'm going to leave half of it unpainted. If you do have any questions, please pop them in the comments. Laura's here filming and she will be able to answer them. So that's how you can paint them. So it's just like painting a piece of furniture, a piece of wood. The better thing about these is the porous, so that you don't need to prep them whatsoever, as long as they are clean. So that's painting. Because they're porous, you can also stain them. So I've got a little bit of stain here. I'm just going to come in with the stain. This is one of my favourite colours, this blue. And as you do normally with stain, you would let it settle for maybe 10-20 seconds before you wipe back the excess stain. And I'm using a baby wipe here. You can obviously use, there you go. I've taken back more than I would have liked to if I'd have had a dry rag, but there you can see it's absorbed right into the surface. You can also wax these, of course. So, and this is I'm going to do half of this so you can see the difference. Coming in with a brown wax here. Because it's porous, it just sinks right into those little pores and retains the wax. It doesn't sit on the surface. It's not resin, it's not plaster. This is an actual wood product. So again, I'm going to leave that for a little bit, come back in with my baby wipe and wipe the excess wax back. And this is where I want to show you the distressing component. So if I come in with a little bit of sandpaper here and just distress the detail, you can see what fabulous results you can achieve with just a little bit of wax and the WoodUbend, of course. So there you have a lovely defined surface with just a little bit of wax. So that's how we wax them. So we've done painting, we've stained them, and we've waxed them. I'll just get rid of that. The fun part about these is you can bend them. And whilst these little babies are warm, you can also slice through them. You can cut them with a pair of scissors. You can rip them apart. You can do lots with them. And then I'm going to show you how we adhere them to the surface. These products can be adhered to just about any hard surface. Stone, plastic, wood, obviously, metals, any steels, and even glass. Yes, you can adhere them to glass. We'll get into the gluing bit, adhering them to the surface in just a minute. I just want to show you how they bend. Now there are 3 ways that you can use to bend your wood bending mouldings, your WoodUbend mouldings. You can use a hairdryer. It's safer than the other methods. It won't char your WoodUbend. You can even get the nozzle of the hairdryer right up to the WoodUbend and it will not char it. The second option, and this is what I mainly use, is a heat gun. And the third option is a griddle. And I like to put a bit of aluminium foil on my griddle just to protect the mouldings from charring. Now I get a lot of questions, what temperature do we put it on? And we always say medium, and people say to me, but that's not very specific. Usually you find that griddles on a medium temperature is a good temperature for any WoodUbend moulding, whatever the temperature is, as long as you've got foil underneath, because I can't give you a specific temperature because all the WoodUbend mouldings, as you can see, all have different thicknesses. And another thing I wanted to show you, we have 3 different markets that we are using the WoodUbend moulding right now. So it's the crafting market, really small tabletop projects. The upcycling market are doing them to surfaces such as upcycled furniture, and then we have the interior design where people can stick them to their walls. And we have designs such as these, which can be adhered to a wall and they will not fall off. Isn't that pretty? And designs like this. But if you go to the website, Laura has popped the link in the comments. She's pinned it to the top so you can go and have a look at all our lovely designs. We also make sheets of the WoodUbend, and these are great for kids because you can literally warm it up a little bit and cut out shapes, and they can make whatever design they want. So we also sell these. I think this is code 2295 if I'm not mistaken. So you can buy a piece like this, curl it round a bottle, round your head, make a hat. You could even make clothes on a mannequin, whatever. The possibilities are endless. So I've sidetracked a little bit.
Is there a limit to how many times you can heat the WoodUbend? Asks Yvonne.
No, as long as you don't char it. As long as you don't char the WoodUbend, no. There's no limit to how many times you can bend it. Right, so on to bending now. We sell an awful lot of these trims, okay? We have about 40 different designs, and they start off from 2mm and they go all the way up to that, which is about 6 inches. So these can be used on your furniture, on tabletop projects. They can also be used for cornices up on your round your walls, and lots of other different uses. So the trim. Now this is the best way to warm a trim up. Why is this not working? Sorry about that. That's in circular motion, so you're keeping the heat dispersed. You're dispersing the heat. I don't want to do that because if I leave the heat gun on there too long, I may char the WoodUbend. So I keep my heat gun moving round. And then I always say it's good to turn it over just so you're getting the heat nicely spread across in and around the moulding.
Amanda asks, is this for sale in South Africa?
Yes, it is for sale in South Africa. We have lovely Lorraine, she may be online, who is our distributor out there. So once you have warmed this up, you can bend it in any direction you wish, and you can adhere this and mould it to just about any contour. So I could, this particular moulding, you can't do it with all the mouldings, but I could do that. And if I leave this long enough, if I hold this long enough whilst it's cooling down, it will remain in that position. So obviously your mind is going crazy now. You can put these around table edges, around plates, around any border. In fact, I'm going to leave it like that. Now, what I say about the coils is always keep the coil, the WoodUbend, in its coil until you are actually, I'm going to break that off so you can see how that sets. Always keep the WoodUbend trim in its coil until you come to use it. So if I were adhering this to this surface, I would be holding this. It retains the heat in the actual moulding. So I'd be sticking it to a surface and I would be uncoiling it as I was going. If I were to do this, because I've seen some people do this, they warm it up and then they'll stretch it out and then it goes cold on them and it becomes the most unruly thing in the world. I'm going to wind it back up really fast before it goes cold on me. So that's just a little tip. And now we're going to go on to how we cut these and how we adhere these to surfaces. See, it's just now, I'm getting the resistance there, so it's just starting to go cold. This has gone cold and it has remained in that position. Isn't that great? Fabulous. Right, to adhere the WoodUbend mouldings, to any surface, you must use specific wood glue, not PVA, not 2-pack, and not the other general purpose glues. It needs to be that creamy white, that creamy colour. That's what signifies specific wood glue for me. Now I do see people using all-purpose glue, which says on it, for plastic, for metal, for this and for wood, and it's like a treacle colour, like a honey colour. Do not use that, they will drop off. It needs to be specific wood glue. So I'm just going to put my glue aside for now. And I'm going to do a little mitering today. So we're going to take this trim and we're just going to do this board around here and miter it off so you can see how. So again, I'm coming in, warming up the moulding. I'm turning it over to get my heat nice and spread nicely within the coil. So if I were to take a thermometer right now, there's more heat in there than there is on the outside and in here. And that's why I say try and keep the trim in their coil as long as possible. So I'm now going to cut off a small piece. We're not going to go all the way around it. This is just for the tutorial purpose. So I didn't go through that well enough. And I'm going to just eyeball a 45-degree angle. No, it needs a bit more off, doesn't it? Now this is getting harder and harder. As it's starting to cool down, it's getting more difficult for me to slice off. So I'm now going to adhere that to the surface. Now usually you only have to put glue on one side of the two surfaces you're sticking together. Sometimes it's easier for you to put it on the back of your moulding. Other times it's easier for you, if you're not too bothered about getting messy, it's easier for you to put it on the designated substrate. So you don't need an awful lot of glue. You bring it back in. Now whether you are bending your mouldings or not, you must warm them up. So that has now gone cold. I'm going to come back in with my heat gun. I'm going to warm it up and really press it on the surface so it consolidates with the surface. It also helps warm the glue up and the glue dries faster along with the moulding.
Rebecca Boucher asks, can you apply WoodUbend after a piece is painted?
Yes. I'll get to that, Rebecca. That's a great question. So I'm going to come in So, because one of our lovely WoodUbend ambassadors has just brought that to light, I'm going to paint a piece of this, and then we're going to adhere it later on. Where's the paint gone? Let's see. So we're now going to open up a little bit, we're going to reheat this up. I'm just going to measure it, oh, wrong way around. I'm going to measure it out roughly. I'm going to cut it again. And I'm going to paint it. We're going to dry it off, and then we are going to adhere it afterwards. Now, you can paint these beforehand, as I'm doing now, before you adhere them or bend them, as long as you are using a flexible paint. Because what you don't want is to paint them, bend them, and whilst you're bending them, the paint cracks. So it all depends on what kind of paint you are using. Now this here that I'm using is a flexible paint. And that's why I am able to paint it before I bend and adhere it to the surface. Sometimes you want to paint something, you want the wood, you want the moulding to, like here, that was painted beforehand, because if I'd have painted that afterwards, I would have had to have gone round there with a really small paintbrush, and it would have taken me a very long time. So I'm just going to warm this off, dry the paint off. Now, you should put 2 coats of paint on, but this is just for the purpose of the tutorial. So the paint's nice and dry. I'm going to come in now and I'm going to bend it. So that's nice and bendy. There you go. No cracking in the paint. Can you see it's all down to what paint you use? That paint is not cracking at all. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to mitre that. Might not be a perfect mite, it probably won't. I'm going to get my glue on. Always remember to use specific wood glue. And don't forget about this little area here. That needs a little bit of glue on it as well. And I'll show you why once we get it on the surface.
Vicky Whiteman asks, can you use chalk paint?
Yes, you can use chalk paint. You can use any paints on the WoodUbend. This is a chalk and mineral paint that I'm using right now.
Rebecca asks, can you apply WoodUbend to already painted furniture?
Yes, you can. As long as your surface accepts glue, it will accept the WoodUbend. So I'm going to come back in now and show you, because I've overshot here a bit, I'm going to show you how it stretches as well. And people always ask me, why do I have to warm the WoodUbend up if my surface is flat? Well, no surface is ever truly flat, and the WoodUbends are never truly flat. So come in there, pressing it down and really butting that joint up there. So it wasn't a perfect cut that I'd made, but because it's so elastic, this stuff, when it is warm and bendy, it just snaps into each other. And I've got a little bit protruding there, if you can see that, and I'm just going to come in with my sandpaper and sand it down. Now, if you have any more questions, I'll be finished in about a minute. If you have any more questions, please pop them in the comments or ask Laura now before we go. Just making it nice and neat there. There is a lot more to WoodUbend than this, but I just wanted to show you. Oh, and I'll warm up one of these as well. We'll warm up a butterfly and then we'll fly away. So there is a lot more to WoodUbend than what we're showing you today, but I just wanted to do a small live and a video and keep it on the page so people could see the basics of how to use WoodUbend.
Can you apply WoodUbend to things other than furniture? Asked Charlotte.
Yes, you can. You can apply them to a glass bottle. You can apply them to your tiles in your bathroom. You can apply them to flower pots in your garden. You can apply them to any surface that is a stiff surface. I've seen people put these on the leather jackets, okay? So there you go, a nice floppy WoodUbend butterfly. Yes, you can apply these to anything. If you are putting them outdoors, you do need to seal them with an outdoor sealer, okay? That is very important. So your paint or the sealer that you're using, it needs to be for outdoor purposes. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please visit our website. We've also got a lovely creations group which is designated just to WoodUbend projects. You can go in there, get inspiration, become one of the family, one of the members, and post your WoodUbend projects. And there's also lots of stockists and ambassadors in there on hand if you should need any help. Thank you ever so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and stay safe. Bye.